Okay, well, here we are back, but this is going to be a different episode because we talk so much about debt,
Yeah.
and that's one component of our lives.
Yes.
But one that I actually love just as much is business.
Yes.
And I love brainstorming business ideas, and almost to a fault, I think my whole life, I enjoy helping someone else bring something to fruition, probably more than I do my own, because maybe it's because I know it's someone else's.
Yeah.
So I thought we could discuss, like, throughout our history of even being married, we've had so many business ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe we could even talk a little bit about some of them that we never really launched, but they were just funny ideas, which I can think of a few.
I hope it's not the one I'm thinking of. I really hope you do not
That's
go
my
there.
favorite.
No, let's just not.
Oh, I'm going to. But before I tell the world about my business idea I never did, not that one. I know what you're thinking now, but I might. I think that I'd love to share with people how our brains function when we have an idea, and like what we typically do when we sit down with someone who comes to us, because we get this quite a bit, where people say, I have this idea, can you help us?
Yeah.
Can you help me like bring it to life?
Mm-hmm.
And so, I don't know, you share, like, how do you, I know you don't love that process as much as I love it.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I love creating. I love building. I love putting pieces of the puzzle together. But there's another big component of business creation, and that's managing it once you built it. That is not my favorite part. I like to build them and set them sail, or set them for sale.
That's what I was going to say. I think that you like to build to sell.
Yeah, I do. I really like the creative process.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the artist in me. I love the artistic part of creation.
Mm-hmm.
And so, we do have a lot of ideas, and I think that I'm much more cautious than you are.
You think I'm risky?
I'm talking about in your creative process. I believe at my core that everyone has something inside of them, a purpose that they were born and they were created to do. That solves a problem, right? And it's like a seed that is inside of them. And there is a miracle. There is a project. There is a business or an idea, a creative process that's inside of every human being, that they were born to do something that only they were born to do. And I heard a man, Miles Monroe, say it this way: the graveyard's full of people that never discovered what that purpose was. And that's a sad thought, And so in the creation process, I think that a lot of times, even if I have something that comes to me, I kind of test it to see if it's for me, and
like what kind of test?
You love the ideas. And I mean, I can think of so many dinners we've gone to with friends. And by the end of dinner, you have a whole business plan laid out. Someone could say one thing and you're just like, vroom, and I'm just eating, listening, and shaking my head sometimes like, this is insane. But, it's a lot of fun. But
Totally.
The test, you said, what kind of test?
Yeah.
The test for me is asking the question, does it line up with my purpose? And so I think once we determine what our purpose in this world is, then every decision after that gets easier and easier. So our yeses and our nos get easier once we have determined what our purpose is. By looking inwardly, by the way, the answer's inside of us. It's not out there somewhere.
Right.
The seed doesn't look to the forest to see what it should become. The seed is what it is inside of itself already. And so that takes time and seeking with the Lord, with Holy Spirit, to find out what is inside of me already. Bring it to my attention. And then it's a lot easier to say when these visions come. People say all the time, Ryan, you say, God talks to you. And it's like, I'm not trying to be religious or like something on a high mountain. Have you ever had an idea before that just keeps coming back to you and coming back to you and coming back to you? Guess what? God's spoken to you too. And so those are the ideas, the ones that just keep coming back and keep coming back and keep coming back, that I believe that's the type of testing I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
See, was this a one and done? Was this something that was a good idea, but maybe for someone else? Because there's a difference between the right thing and the good thing.
Right.
And I've heard it said, the biggest enemy of the right thing is the good thing.
Right.
Because I can
It'll
be doing a
distract
good
you.
thing, but it's not the righteous thing, or it's
Mhm.
not the right thing for me and my purpose in life. So that's the kind of testing process I go through. Earlier in my life, everything was allowed to come in. Everything was allowed to come in.
You would try any idea you had?
It's like every good idea was intended for me, and I don't process it that way anymore. But, you have so much fun with the business process. And that's what I've always admired about you, is you can get idea and you're an executor too. So, like, what's your favorite part of the whole process?
I like the marketing piece of it. Like, I like to figure out, how is it going to be presented to the world, and how is it going to wow people?
Yeah.
Like, what's going to be so different about what it is that you're doing, and why would people come to you over someone else? So like, I can remember probably my favorite. I'm going to share one of the ideas. I had this whole idea around catching your husband or wife if they're cheating on you. Okay.
I remember this one.
It's when like Facebook just came out and all these things had just come out to where people would go on and see people they went to high school with and yada, yada, yada. And so it was like, okay, I'm going to figure out how to make money doing this. So I came up with this name, and it was called Bait Your Mate. First of all, that's not even the good part. The actual logo was like a bee with a fishing hook on it with the wedding rings on it. And so
I don't think I ever knew you went to logo stage of this idea.
I still have it if you want to see it.
No, I'm good.
And so what this company would do is we would go in and see if your significant other or spouse were cheating on you by creating profiles and send it, and you could pay a certain amount, and we'd even set up to meet them for dinner.
Are you doing a commercial here?
No, but okay. I never launched this, by the way. But this is one of these ideas that probably wasn't in alignment with my purpose.
Yeah. So, I'm not even sure that's on the good. I mean, this one's out there.
But it's that process. It's that process for me of like taking something and finding a catchy name and and the tagline and like the colors and the website. And, for me, I feel like that comes really easy for me, and more so for other people, because I think that, God gives some of us gifts that we can look at other people and see them the way He sees them.
That's
right.
Good.
And so sometimes when I encounter people, I can see giftings in them that they can't even see in themselves.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful for that, because, I always want to leave people, when they walk away from me, feeling 10 times better than when they first encountered me.
Unless it's the mate that you just baited.
Right.
Okay.
Well,
yeah.
They deserve to feel bad.
Yeah.
But for those who are coming to me and they don't know, like I've had this happen. People will say, I really want to start a business, but I honestly don't even know what I would do. And the first thing I ask them is, well, what do you like to do? What do you enjoy doing?
Yeah. What's your passion?
What do you like to do? What do you find yourself doing when you have free time?
That's good.
And most of the time when they tell me that, then I'll say, okay, well, come show me. Come to my house and show me what it is you like to do. If it's organizing or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then most of the time, once I see what they love to do, then I can say, okay, well, if I need it, right, so will everybody else. And so it begins. And I think sometimes it's just extracting that from people and showing them that even though they don't think it's a big deal, it's a huge deal to people who aren't gifted that way.
Yeah, that's actually a great confirmation for what I said earlier about the idea of the business isn't out there somewhere. Right. It's not out there and I have to go find it.
Right.
The idea is inside of you all along. And sometimes it's embedded in what you're already passionate about.
Right.
The second thing that's really important in the creative process is, what problem are you solving? Because at the end of the day, people will utilize a service or a good that solves a problem for them, right? That's where they determine value. And so that's when you're able to sell your good or service because it's solving a problem that someone deems valuable. And so that is the magic potion, is when the passion meets the problem solved, right? And I love that about the organizing, because you're kind of an organizer, cleaner, and
yeah, but not like this person was.
Yeah,
I mean, I
yeah.
love to be organized.
Yeah.
But she took it to a whole nother level.
Yeah, yeah.
And so by the time she got done with things, I was like, oh my gosh, this is like a service.
It's a service, right? And you saw that she was passionate about it.
Right.
And then at the end of the day, it was like, hey, if this helped me, there's probably other people this could help.
Totally.
And so why not build a brand around it and build some processes?
That's right.
I think that's where a lot of people get hung up sometimes. It seems like such a mountain to move. To launch a business seems like such a mountain to move. And oh my gosh, I'm not ready for that. I don't have the time. I don't have the money. I don't have the
I'm not qualified.
I'm not qualified.
Sometimes they feel they're just not qualified because they didn't go to business school, which by the way, I didn't either.
Yeah.
I just recently, I did it backwards. You did though. You went to college, you got a degree in economics.
Yeah. A business degree does not qualify
That's
you
right.
or disqualify you for starting a business. I know some very, very wealthy people that never even graduated high school, but they had a passion and they had a purpose
and grit.
And then they had grit and then they had a plan. And I think that's one of the main keys is starting small. It doesn't mean, I'm thinking of this air conditioning man I just met recently, Bob, and he is not your average air conditioning man. He was from the streets of Philadelphia. And he got his air conditioning licensing, HVAC, and now in his 60s, he runs a triple-digit $1 million air conditioning business with a fresh fleet of $1 million worth of trucks every year. And you know what he did? He had grit, determination, and he started with a tool bag.
That's awesome.
He started with a tool bag. That's
just
not a
him.
lot.
Like he
just
was
him.
the guy. Yeah.
Just him telling people he worked on air conditionings. Now he's like the biggest supplier of commercial air conditioning systems to the United States government, Apple, Amazon.
Wow.
And it's just like, really? That's the type of dream that's inside of every single person if we'll look for it.
But like him, you have to start somewhere.
You have to start somewhere.
You know what? That actually, I love that topic because I know a lot of people who have this vision of being a business owner and they have this idea, but they're not willing to get in the trenches with the team, right?
Yeah.
Because that's one component. Having the idea and the vision and being able to pro forma it out and put it out. But unless you can get in the trenches with your team and work and learn the processes as well as they are.
Well, you have to do it first.
You have to prove it works.
Right.
Right? But there's so many people that'll just hire for the roles and never even consider, is this even a viable business? They'll plug all these people in, they'll get a loan, which I hate. And then they'll, you know what? They'll waste their money on the wrong things and not even knowing if it's going to work or not.
Yeah, that brings another good point. I think a lot of people think that, the essence of starting a business is getting a name, getting their logo done, getting business cards.
I do like the name and logo part.
You love it, but that's branding.
Totally.
But that has nothing to do with business,
No.
really. The actual operational side of the business.
No.
I'm going to go ahead and form my LLC. I'm going to get my bank account open. Let me tell you, that is the fun part of starting a business. But at the end of the day, in my opinion, the number one question you have to ask yourself is, can you make the phone ring? Because the number one most important part of the business is the marketing piece.
This reminds me of a moment we had in our lives.
Okay.
I know you're going to remember this.
Okay.
When we were in the mortgage business and it all tanked, right?
Yeah.
Remember, they closed it down and we had our broker's license. And so you're like, you know what? We're going to open our own brokerage.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Even if we do a few deals, it's better.
Yep.
Do you remember We set up the LLC. We
Yep,
got the
backwater
name.
mortgage.
Backwater mortgage.
Yeah.
We got the prettiest office.
Oh, we
space.
went and spent like $5,000 on office furniture, the best office space in downtown Bradenton.
And so we got it all set up. And we're sitting in the office.
Yeah.
And you're like, and I said, okay, now what?
We're in business.
Yeah.
There's just no one here.
But that's what most people do.
I know.
Including us.
Yeah, that's kind of backwards.
And
you know?
we sit there and you know the irony of all
Yeah.
of that now that I'm talking out loud?
Yeah.
The first client we ever had ended up being our lawn guy.
Yeah. 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 Well, he ended up being our lawn guy later in life.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So we ended up doing a mortgage for him. And then one day I was pricing out lawn guys and he showed up at the house to bid out the job. I'm like, I recognize him. Yeah. So, that brings up a good point. Actually, I think in this day and age, when I think of a business idea, I start in reverse. I actually ask myself first, can I make the phone ring? Can I get someone to inquire about this business? Because you don't need an LLC. You don't need an office.
Well,
you don't need
Connor's
furniture. You don't need any of that to put your concept out there in the ether and see if you can drive a lead. Because without leads, you're dead in the water. So why spend 15, 20 grand setting up business infrastructure for something that you don't have a clue how to market?
Yeah.
So if I can go out and generate some leads, that's the starting point. That's not the ending point. And then you say, when the phone starts ringing, you're like, dang, I better get my act together. I need to get an LLC. I better open a checking account. I don't even have a place to put these checks.
Totally.
Right? And all that's the easy part, especially once you start having a lead funnel.
Yeah, I think it's hard though, because the way my brain functions, I would feel so unorganized if I approached it like that, where I'm more of like, I have to make sure it's presented out to the world in a manner that's conducive. It has my DNA, like it's Amber through and through. But you're right.
Yeah.
And I've seen it happen. And I know the marketing piece is the most important piece when it comes to driving leads. Like you better have that nailed down. And I think Connor, our son, is a great example of that at 15. I mean, he's been doing something for a couple years. And he just said last night at dinner, remember, he's like, maybe I should open an LLC.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, I think we have this notion of being in business and, it's actually ego driven. We want to be in business. We want to have the business card. We want to have the title president or CEO.
I don't care about titles,
I'm saying like it's embedded somewhere in that whole process. Ego is embedded somewhere in that process where if you're really looking at this from a holistic, organic approach to starting a business, see if you can get some customers.
Yeah.
See if you can get some customers, and then everything else can be retrofitted. And not only can be retrofitted, it can be done very quickly.
No, that's good.
You can be up and running and you can make money for quite a while without any of the other stuff.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably one of my biggest things I've learned over 20 years of starting and closing and starting and selling businesses is, hey, priority number one, does anybody care about this as much as I do?
Right.
Does anybody think this is as valuable as I think it is?
Yeah.
Because if the answer's no, guess what? We got a party of one. Okay. So we better test that first.
Right. And doing market research, I think, is really great to see what competitors are already in the market doing, what it is you want to do, if any.
Yeah.
Right? I know when I launched Jackie, I wasn't even sure I was going to launch Jackie. It was going to be Chatterbox, give all your girlfriends something to talk about.
Yeah.
I had this whole thing. And then my branding company's like, that doesn't sound like you. Like chatterboxes have like this negative connotation. You don't want to be a chatterbox. But I remember going through that process and thinking to myself, am I the only one that does not connect with all those other box subscription companies out there? And you're like, no, I'm sure if you don't connect, there's going to be tons of other, females who are running businesses who want this type of service. And even when I launched it, I was like, even if this is just for me, I'm fine with it.
Right.
And I couldn't believe the response. There are multiple women like myself who really want higher-end clothing delivered to their door. So it was kind of like, to your point, right? I tested it out, and sure enough, it was a way better response than what I thought. That there was a need, right? There was a gaping hole in the industry of box subscription for women. So I think that's what you're speaking to when you say, make sure that what you're creating, people actually want and need out there.
Yeah, and it's taken me time to learn that lesson the hard way, because not every business that I've started has worked. And I think when I reflect back on to the breakdown, a lot of times I did not do the market research necessary to determine what's the demand for this product. I thought it was great, but there I was, party of one, and while money was clinking out the door. So it's really, a business in and of itself is valued by the number of people that it solves a problem for. Okay. So if you look at Amazon, it solves a huge problem, right? Delivery, convenience of things that we all need right to our doorstep in a timely manner. How many people does that help? Globally, billions. So it's no wonder it's a $1 trillion company.
Right.
Right. And I saw a sign yesterday for dremeling a dog's nails and teeth. Okay. How many people does that solve a problem for? Well, maybe 100, maybe 200. So the value is going to be limited by the number of people. The big breakthrough as far as going from kind of mom and pop, triple digits or 7-digit valuation to $1 billion valuation is how many people does it help? How many people value this problem how many people have this problem that I'm solving?
Yeah.
And so I've had to kind of recalibrate on how I approach or look at any business from that perspective as well.
Well, and I'd even take it a step further, because I know we've been in business with other partners who have taken the run on something or managed something where our money was in it, but we didn't understand it. I'll never do that again.
No. Gas stations.
That's exactly what I was
Gas
thinking.
stations, yeah.
But more importantly, I think what it taught me is don't go into a business that you know nothing about. Don't put your money and partner with someone who you are not 100% familiar with what the business is and how you're making money.
Yeah. That reminds me of a friend of mine from Texas. He was a mentor and rare coin dealer. And when I told him that we were buying a string of gas stations, he was just sitting there shaking his head. And I was so proud. He's from Texas. He was an oil man too. And he's like, how much do you know about the gas business? And I'm like, well, I don't know anything about it. He's like, don't ever invest in anything you don't understand. And if you don't
agree more.
If you don't understand it, then you have no business doing it. And so, we ended up losing our shirt in that deal.
Yeah.
And it was not a pleasant experience. I think we pro-formed that business out to make $100,000 a month net.
Right.
And it ended up losing about $75,000 a month.
Yeah.
That's what we were putting back into the company. For almost the year that we owned them before we handed the keys back.
Right.
So not every story is champagne and lollipops.
Right. Well,
right?
and that's important to share because we learn with our mistakes. But I think from the outside, the world would look and say, "Oh, everything they touch turns to gold." That's not true. We've had failures,
absolutely,
and we've had things we've never launched. And since I promised that I would share my best tagline and name ever, I do have to do that before we close.
Okay. I mean,
embrace yourself. So I have always been fascinated with midgets. I've told you this. Like, I don't know what it is. I went to the fair. I saw a midget. They had them set up. You get a ticket to go in and see. I'm like fascinated. I wanted to have one sitting on my shelf. Like, I'm obsessed.
The shelf.
So I came up with this idea to actually help them. And basically, the company, you could rent them out for parties. Like, wouldn't it be nice to have them going around with coffee?
People.
Serving you these people. Like, they're just unique. You don't forget about them. They're nice. They're great. They have a unique, like, you wouldn't forget about them.
Yeah, I hope you see I'm squirming over here.
But listen to the name. Are you ready?
Yeah, I probably tried to suppress this memory.
Short-staffed.
Yes. Oh, yeah, that's right.
You can rent them for anything, for any reason. And it employs them. It employs these little people for things that you would need.
Well, you know that shelf where you wanted to put them? Go ahead and keep this idea up on that shelf.
I'm telling you.
I'm not,
one day. One day.
Okay, just make sure I'm no longer here.
It just goes to show, like, we bounce things off each other. And I share, even though I have crazy ideas sometimes. But I think just really having a voice of reason in your life when you do have business ideas too.
Yeah.
to kind of play the tape the whole
It
way
is.
through.
It's good. It's good. It's good to have someone to bounce things off of and see. And I think one of the bigger takeaways too is don't be afraid to fail.
Right.
And the hardest part's just getting started.
Totally.
Just taking the first step, because I can almost guarantee you what you think the business will look like and what it ends up looking like
Completely
is two different things anyway. So just take the first step in faith.
Yep.
Knowing that all things are going to work out for your good.
That's right.
As you're stepping out to help others solve a problem, and it'll all work out fine.
Especially if you're walking it out in your purpose.
Walking it out in your purpose.
So if you've already gone through and done what you said at the beginning, which is
Yeah.
identify what your purpose is and know what that is, then you're not going to fail. Like I always say, if God's behind me, who can be against me?
Right.
And I always look forward. You cannot be a Debbie Downer in business.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't be around Debbie Downers in business. There is literally failure is not an option. And that's the way I charge every single day. So I think it's just important that if you're walking in your purpose, you're committed to what it is you're launching, you've done the due diligence, the market research, then you press forward and you know that it's going to take 2 to 3 years probably to get it to where it's functioning. But guess what? I can't think of a better way to earn more income than running your own business.
I agree. And everybody has one in them. Every human being has something special in them that is their intended purpose in this world.
Right.
And our goal is that graveyard doesn't keep getting filled with people that never figured out what their purpose was.
And
That's
you
sad.
can be one of two people in life. You can make someone else money or you can make your own money.
I like
That's
it.
it.
That's good.
So hopefully we speak to those who have ideas out there. If you want to know anything further or how to chat with us, if you have an idea, you can always reach out to us. Actually on the website.
Clarity call.
Do a clarity call. We can connect you with Ryan or myself to help with any business coaching, building your business, or even bringing us in for consulting. I know I love doing that.
Yeah,
So
it's one of favorite things to do.
All right.
We're a good tag team too.
We are a good team.